You are watching ABC News Breakfast, and this is our top story. North Korea, the pro-nuclear nation, has defended its actions, saying a test of its capabilities is in the country's national interests.
The tests have brought worldwide condemnation and prompted United Nations Security Council members to seek tough new measures on the country. Dr. Andrew O'Neill is an Associate Professor in International Relations at Flinders University, and he joins us now. Andrew O'Neill, good morning.
Good morning, Joe.
Now, you've worked in Japan. Give us a sense of the depth of concern in that region about what North Korea could do.
I think the depth of concern is fairly profound. Missile tests are one thing, but I think when North Korea starts testing nuclear weapons, that is a direct signal to the rest of the region about North Korea's short-term intentions, but also, perhaps more importantly, Pyongyang's longer-term intentions. Pyongyang's made it very clear, I think, with these tests, the first test in 2006 and, of course, the test this week, that it intends to go down the path of operationalising its nuclear weapons force. That means a long-term process of development, but I think what this signals to the rest of the region is that North Korea has clearly made the decision and is clearly in the process of going down the path of becoming the world's 9th nuclear weapons state.
Yeah, so despite all these protestations from the international community, North Korea is continuing down this path. It cannot be stopped.
That would certainly be my view, and I think I don't think it's productive to try and resurrect the idea that North Korea can somehow be dissuaded from continuing going down this path. I think what the international community, what the Security Council, what the United States and East Asian countries should be focusing on at the present time is promoting restraint in North Korea, perhaps in the medium term, looking to encourage North Korea to place a cap on the number of nuclear warheads that it develops. I think the idea that we can somehow now turn back the clock and denuclearise North Korea is an argument that really is a thing of the past, and we should be looking now to the question about how we deal with North Korea as a fully fledged nuclear weapons power.
But if North Korea has disregarded those pleas previously, why would they agree to any calls from the international community now to move on from that ban call in relation to nuclear weapons to a cap on the number of nuclear weapons?
It's an interesting question. I think if we look at the rhetoric coming out of Pyongyang, and if we look closely at the pronouncements from the regime in the last few days, in the last week, it's pretty clear that they really want to be involved in a bilateral negotiating process with the United States. They're not interested in multilateral six-party talks. What they want is a strategic dialogue with the United States. They use the term as equals. So from Pyongyang's point of view, this is really a question about sitting down with the United States and coming up with some strategic bargain. Now, whether we, of course, that then raises the question whether we actually believe anything that Pyongyang says, given the number of times it has breached its various promises on nuclear and missile issues. But I don't really think we have any choice. The United States, the Obama administration, this is a massive test of the administration's political resolve to deal with this issue, and I think dealing with the North Koreans at a bilateral level is really the only alternative left to the United States.
So you think Barack Obama should agree to bilateral talks? What do you think North Korea is hoping to achieve? Why does it want those bilateral talks, and what is it hoping to get from them?
And again, that's an interesting question. If we knew the answer to that, it would certainly solve a lot of problems. But what I do think is that the North Koreans, at least in the short term, in the long term, I think, from Kim Jong-il's perspective, this is about regime preservation. This is about creating the conditions in which the regime can survive at least for the short to medium term. I think in another sense, the North Koreans really want to engage the United States as an equal power. And we can really trace the roots of this back to Korean history, North Korea's history with the Korean War and its relationship with the United States since that time. So for a long time, I think the North Koreans have been striving towards getting a seat at the table, if you will. This sense in which its identity, its strategic existence is acknowledged by the United States on a kind of equal level. And I think that's I think that's one aspect of why they're striving for nuclear weapons, but my own view is that the primary reason they're striving for nuclear weapons is as a long-term deterrent against any external aggression or attack.
A deterrent. What do you think the chances are they will actually fire a nuclear weapon in anger?
Look, my own view is the chances of that are, of course there is a chance that will happen. I think the chances of that are relatively low. What does concern me, and I think what is increasingly concerning a range of other analysts, is the prospect of North Korea exporting its nuclear program. We know, for example, that North Korea has a range of links with countries in the Middle East. We know that North Korea has a nuclear relationship with Iran. We know that North Korea has had a nuclear relationship with Syria in the past. So my primary concern is that North Korea, having undertaken a very large nuclear test, this is in the range, according to Russian defence authorities, of between 10 and 20 kilotons, that the North has enough spare plutonium capacity from its Yongbyon reactor, from its Yongbyon facility, to begin exporting that to other countries. And bear in mind too, the North Koreans have a track record of exporting their ballistic missile program. So that for me is the major concern, the proliferation of North Korea's fissile material beyond its borders.
Okay, Andrew O'Neill, very interesting talking to you, and thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you.